Imagine discovering that your entire destiny, your power, your inheritance, your place in history could be stolen by your own brother. And what if the price of losing it wasn't just your future, but the very plan God had for generations to come? If you skip this story, you'll miss one of the most shocking family battles in biblical history. But if you stay, you'll uncover a secret about purpose, identity, and divine destiny that few people ever notice. This is the untold struggle between Jacob and Esau, the fight for the birthright. It begins long before the twins take their first breath. Rebekah is pregnant, but this pregnancy is nothing like she expected. Inside her, there is turmoil, a violent struggle that leaves her crying out in confusion. She seeks God, desperate for an explanation, and the answer she receives is a prophecy that will shape nations. 2 nations are in your womb, and the older shall serve the younger. From the very beginning, there is tension, spiritual, generational, and deeply personal. Then the moment comes. Esau is born first, red, hairy, wild-looking, radiating strength even as a baby. Jacob follows, but not passively. His tiny hand is wrapped tightly around Esau's heel, as if refusing to be left behind, refusing to accept second place. The contrast is immediate. Esau, the hunter, the outdoorsman, the warrior spirit. Jacob, the quiet one, staying close to the tents, observant, strategic, calculating. But behind the scenes, another tension grows. Isaac favors Esau, drawn to his strength and skill. Rebekah favors Jacob, seeing something deeper in him, perhaps remembering God's prophecy, perhaps sensing his destiny. This divided parenthood becomes the silent fuel for everything that follows. Years pass. Esau becomes the kind of man everyone assumes will lead, fearless, bold, impulsive. Jacob becomes the planner, the thinker, the one who sees opportunities others overlook. And one day, the opportunity of a lifetime falls right into Jacob's hands. Esau returns from the fields exhausted, almost fainting from hunger. Jacob is cooking a simple stew, but its aroma overwhelms Esau. He demands food, not politely, not thoughtfully, just raw appetite, and Jacob sees it, a weakness, a crack, a door. He calmly says, "Sell me your birthright." Esau scoffs. "What good is a birthright if I die?" Without hesitation, without discernment, he trades his divine inheritance for one bowl of lentils. And here lies the shocking truth most people miss. Esau despised the birthright long before Jacob asked for it. He never valued it, never guarded it. And Jacob? He wanted the blessing more than anything, not wealth, not land, the blessing God's promise. But the story doesn't end there. Because even though Esau sold the birthright, Isaac still has the authority to pronounce the irrevocable blessing. And Isaac is determined to give it to Esau. Years later, Isaac is old and blind. Death feels near. He calls Esau in secret, asking him to hunt wild game and prepare his favorite dish. When Esau returns, Isaac will bless him. No one else must know. But Rebekah hears everything. In an instant, the prophecy returns to her mind. She knows God's will. And she knows Isaac is about to act against it. She makes a decision bold, risky, controversial. She calls Jacob. She forms a plan. She instructs him to disguise himself as Esau, to bring food to Isaac, and to receive the blessing meant for the firstborn. Jacob hesitates, not because he's morally conflicted, but because he's afraid of getting caught. What if he touches me? But Rebekah reassures him. Let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say, and the plan unfolds. Jacob dresses in Esau's clothes. Goatskins cover his arms. The aroma of the fields clings to him. He approaches Isaac, who is suspicious but vulnerable. The voice is Jacob's, he says, but the hands are Esau's. Isaac smells the clothes, feels the hair, tastes the food, and finally surrenders to the deception. He places his hand on Jacob and speaks a blessing that reshapes the future: abundance, leadership, dominion, protection. It is done. Moments later, Esau arrives with the meal, with excitement, with expectation. But when he enters the room, Isaac trembles violently. The horrifying truth hits them both. The blessing has already been given and cannot be reversed. Esau cries out a heart-shattering scream, a sound of betrayal and agony that shakes the entire household. He begs for a blessing, but there is none left of the same magnitude. What he receives is a shadow, a distant echo, and the promise that he will live by the sword. And from that moment on, Esau burns with hatred. He vows to kill Jacob. The home that once held 2 brothers now holds a death threat. Rebekah, Trembling, warns Jacob, "You must leave, now." And once again, the prophecy echoes, "The older shall serve the younger." But Jacob doesn't leave as a victor. He flees as a fugitive, carrying not the comfort of his blessing, but the weight of its consequences. And here lies the part most people never consider. Jacob was chosen, yes, but the path to his destiny is immediately met with hardship, loneliness, and fear. Blessing does not mean an easy life. Sometimes it means carrying a responsibility that tests every part of you. Jacob's journey leads him to a barren wilderness, where the sun sets and he collapses on the ground, using a stone for a pillow. It is in this place of exhaustion and exile that something extraordinary happens. He dreams of a ladder reaching up to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. God himself speaks, confirming the blessing, confirming the promise, confirming the destiny. Jacob wakes up in awe. He's no longer running away. He's running toward his purpose. Meanwhile, Esau continues to live with bitterness. But the deeper truth is this: Esau never lost the blessing because of Jacob's trickery alone. He lost it because he never valued it. He chased appetite over purpose, impulse over identity, the temporary over the eternal. Jacob, flawed as he was, fought for what mattered most. Decades later, the story reaches its emotional climax. After years of separation, God commands Jacob to return home. Terrified, Jacob prepares to meet Esau, unsure whether his brother still wants revenge. The night before the reunion, Jacob wrestles with a mysterious figure, a divine being, perhaps an angel, perhaps God himself. They struggle until dawn, and Jacob refuses to let go until he receives a blessing. This moment reflects his entire life. Fighting for the blessing, refusing to settle for the ordinary, demanding purpose even when it costs everything. By morning, Jacob receives a new name, Israel, a new identity, a new destiny. And then, the moment arrives. Jacob walks toward Esau with trembling steps. But instead of a sword, Esau opens his arms. The hatred has melted. And Jacob collapses into his brother's embrace, weeping. For the first time, the prophecy and the promise coexist with peace. This story is not merely about two brothers. It's about the human struggle between the temporary and the eternal, between appetite and purpose, between who we are and who we're called to be. Esau represents every moment we trade our future for immediate satisfaction. Jacob represents the relentless pursuit of the blessing, even imperfectly. But the final truth is powerful. Destiny favors those who value what God places in their hands. The birthright wasn't about privilege. It was about responsibility, carrying the spiritual legacy that would one day lead to the nation of Israel, and ultimately, to Jesus. So what is the lesson hidden beneath this ancient drama? Don't trade your identity, your calling, or your spiritual inheritance for temporary satisfaction. Don't sell what God gave you for a moment of comfort. Fight for purpose. Protect your destiny. And remember, the blessing is costly, but the reward echoes across generations. If this story opened your eyes to something deeper than you expected, now it's your turn to act. Drop a comment sharing what surprised you the most. Smash the like button so this message reaches more people. And click the link on your screen to subscribe and continue exploring the extraordinary stories hidden inside the Bible. There is so much more waiting for you, and you won't want to miss what comes next.